Welcome to Zoe Stories. Mom gave me a choice. Now I'm her feminine child. The afternoon sunlight filtered through my bedroom window, falling in a warm, golden rectangle across the floor. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the carpet, my hands twisting nervously in my lap. I was 18, awkward, and painfully aware of how invisible I often felt in the world. Social gatherings, confident classmates, even my own family sometimes made me feel like I was just background noise. Jamie, my mother's voice cut through the quiet, calm but carrying an unshakable authority. Come downstairs. We need to talk. I froze. The way she said it, soft yet commanding, made my stomach knot. Something was different this time. As I descended the staircase, I noticed the meticulous order of the living room. Every cushion perfectly aligned, every frame straightened as if signaling that this conversation was serious, important. She sat on the sofa, her posture impeccable, a gentle smile on her lips. But there was a fire in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Jamie, I know you've always struggled with confidence, with fitting in, with being noticed. I swallowed hard. My mother had always been perceptive, but this felt like the calm before a storm. I want to give you a choice, she said, leaning forward, her fingers clasped tightly. A chance to experience a side of yourself you've never dared to explore. My heart raced. A side of myself? I asked cautiously, my voice barely above a whisper. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yes. I've arranged something special. Something that will help you evolve. I hesitated, confused. Evolve? Mom, I don't. What do you mean? Her gaze softened, yet it held a steel I couldn't ignore. You'll understand soon. But you have to promise me something first. You will commit fully. No hesitation. No retreat. Only trust. I nodded, unsure why. Maybe it was my curiosity. Maybe the sense that saying no wasn't even an option. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, beautifully wrapped box. Open it. Inside was a delicate silk dress, soft, pale pink, with lace trim and ribbons. My breath caught in my throat. I had never seen anything so feminine, so delicate. Mom, Jamie, she interrupted gently. This isn't just about clothing. This is about transformation. About experiencing who you could be if you let go of fear, shame, and doubt. You can stay as you are, or you can accept the choice I'm offering. My chest tightened. My mind raced. The thought of dressing like this, of stepping into a completely different identity, terrified me. And yet, there was an inexplicable pull. Something in her voice, in the calm intensity of her gaze, made me feel that maybe, just maybe, I needed this. You want me to wear this? My voice trembled. Yes, she said simply. But it's more than wearing. It's living it. Fully. Today, you will start. And tomorrow, we will go further. I looked at the dress again. Soft, inviting, terrifying. My hands hovered over it, trembling. My mind screamed to run, to refuse, but my heart was curiously drawn to the idea. Finally, almost whispering, I said, Okay, I'll do it. Her smile widened and she reached out, taking my hand. Good. I promise, Jamie, this will change everything. As I stood there, holding the silk dress, I didn't realize that my life had just shifted. That the shy, invisible boy who had always faded into the background was about to be unrecognizable. That the choice I had just made was the first step down a path I could never turn back from. And the storm was only beginning. As I took the dress from her hands, my mother's smile was both comforting and terrifying. Come with me, Jamie, she said. It's time to become someone new. I followed my mother into her bedroom, my hands clutching the soft silk dress, like a lifeline. My heart pounded so hard I thought she might hear it. The room smelled faintly of lavender and vanilla, comforting, yet there was an edge of tension that made every step feel like walking on glass. Sit here, she said, pointing to a vanity chair in front of a large mirror. The polished surface reflected me back, but the boy staring back seemed distant, like a shadow of who I was supposed to be. First, she said, her voice calm but firm, we need to start with the basics. Posture, demeanor, and how you carry yourself. Being feminine isn't just clothing, it's movement, it's presence. I swallowed, nodding, my throat dry. She guided me to stand and slowly adjusted my shoulders, straightening my spine. Lift your chin. Eyes forward. Grace in every motion, Jamie. I stumbled on my first attempt, feeling clumsy and ridiculous. I can't do this, I whispered, embarrassment curling in my chest like fire. You can, she said sharply, but with a small, reassuring smile. You're learning. That's the point. Clumsiness is part of the transformation. Embrace it. Then came the dress. She helped me slip into it, her fingers brushing my skin lightly, sending an unexpected shiver down my spine. The silky fabric clung softly to my arms, my chest, my body in ways I had never experienced. It felt foreign, intimate, and almost thrilling. There, she said. Look in the mirror. I hesitated, then lifted my eyes. My reflection, it wasn't me. Not fully. The boy I knew was gone, replaced by someone smaller, more delicate, someone prettier. I felt a strange mix of panic and fascination. You're beautiful, Jamie, she whispered. Do you see it? You've always had it in you. Beautiful? My voice cracked. I didn't know how to respond. The word sounded alien, almost forbidden when applied to me. Yes, she said, circling behind me. And now we move to hair and makeup. I froze. Makeup. She smiled sweetly. Yes. Eyes, lips, skin. It's part of becoming who you're meant to be. Sitting at the vanity, I watched as she applied foundation, mascara, and soft pink lipstick. Each brushstroke felt like erasing parts of me, rewriting me. My cheeks flushed, a mix of shame and inexplicable excitement. Now your voice, she instructed. Try saying my name, but softer. More melodic. Jamia, I murmured, awkwardly, my words trembling. Better. Again, she said, correcting my pitch and tone. I repeated it until my voice felt like a stranger's, light, delicate, and undeniably feminine. Hours passed in this strange, meticulous transformation. I walked around the room, stumbled, laughed nervously, and felt my old self slipping further away with each movement, each glance in the mirror. Finally, she stepped back, inspecting me like an artist admiring her work. Perfect, she said. Tomorrow, we take the next step. You'll go out in public. I froze. My mind screamed, no, I can't. The world will see me like this, but deep down, a tiny spark of curiosity burned. What would it feel like to be seen as her feminine child? And that spark terrified me more than anything else. The next morning, sunlight poured through my window again, but today it felt different, heavier, charged with anticipation and dread. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart hammering. The silk dress from yesterday hung neatly on a hanger, its delicate fabric almost mocking me with the promise of what was to come. Jamie, my mother called from downstairs, her tone calm but irresistible. It's time. I rose, every muscle tense. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye as I passed, my makeup perfectly in place, hair styled just as she had instructed. I barely recognized myself. I looked small, delicate, undeniably feminine. My chest tightened, both from nerves and something I couldn't name. Come on, she said, leading me to the car. I followed silently, my stomach twisting. Today, she promised, was my first public test. The car ride was quiet, save for the hum of the engine and the occasional soft sigh from my mother. I kept my eyes fixed on the passing scenery, desperate to block out the reality of what I had become. Every passerby on the street seemed like a potential judge, each glance a possible exposure. We arrived at a bustling mall. The doors slid open, and suddenly the world felt immense, overwhelming, merciless. People moved in all directions, oblivious, yet their presence made my heart race, as if every eye was on me. Walk with me, my mother instructed, taking my hand. Her touch was both grounding and controlling, reminding me I couldn't retreat. Every step felt foreign. My heels clicked sharply against the tiles, announcing my presence in a way that made my cheeks burn. I stumbled once, nearly falling, and felt a wave of humiliation wash over me. A nearby teenager snickered, and my heart sank deeper. Good, my mother said, her voice calm, almost cruel in its sweetness. Feel the embarrassment. Learn from it. You're becoming more aware, more graceful. I hated her words, but couldn't deny their effect. With each step, I felt my old self, awkward, invisible, slipping further away. My reflection in the store windows stared back at me, a girl with delicate features, soft hair, and wide eyes that flickered between fear and curiosity. Then came the first comment. A young woman passing by whispered, "She's so pretty." My chest tightened. My face burned. I muttered to myself. Not he, not Jamie. The world saw me differently, and it was terrifying and intoxicating. We stopped at a cafe. I sat, barely able to control my shaking hands. My mother ordered for us, her eyes never leaving me. Every glance from strangers felt magnified, every accidental stare a test. I tried to hide, tried to shrink back into myself, but the silk hugged my body, my voice came out light and feminine, and every movement betrayed the boy I used to be. An older man glanced at me and smiled kindly. "Such a lovely young lady," he said. My mother's hand tightened over mine. I couldn't speak, couldn't respond. A mix of shame, thrill, and disbelief churned inside me. Later, in a cosmetics store, she guided me to try new outfits, skirts, blouses, delicate jewelry. Each piece of clothing, each brushstroke of makeup, further erased Jamie. My embarrassment was complete when a clerk complimented my style. "You have a real talent for fashion, young lady." I laughed nervously, my voice too high, too soft. My mother's eyes sparkled with satisfaction. "See, Jamie? People notice now. You're becoming someone extraordinary." The mall visit ended, but the echo of every glance, every whispered comment, every internal struggle remained. I had survived, yes, but I was not the same boy who had walked in. The morning light spilled through my window, soft but unforgiving, as if the world itself demanded I step fully into this new existence. My heart raced before I even opened my eyes. The memory of yesterday's mall visit, every glance, every whisper, every stifled laugh, clung to me like a shadow. I hadn't realized how much the outside world could reflect back my own fears and my hidden curiosity. "Jamie," my mother called from downstairs, her voice calm but insistent. "Come. Today, we work on the details." The words hung in the air. The details. I knew, somehow, that this was no ordinary lesson. My mother's eyes were always calm, almost clinical, yet they carried a weight of authority that made me obey without question. I followed her into the living room, where she had set up a small space with mirrors on every wall, a chair in the center, and a tray of delicate objects, lipsticks, brushes, powders, hair accessories. It was as if I had walked into a ritual chamber, designed solely for my transformation. "Today, you become more than just pretty," she said softly, circling me like a predator studying her prey. "You become hers fully, completely, undeniably." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. The word, hers, sent a shiver through me. I felt a tug between terror and something darker, something curious, dangerous. "Sit," she instructed, and I obeyed. The first step was hair. She ran her fingers through it, separating strands, brushing, smoothing, then curling. I shivered as the warm metal of the curling iron passed over my hair, transforming its shape. Each curl felt like a soft ribbon of control wrapping around me, binding me in this new identity. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. "You see," she whispered, her lips brushing my ear, "this is you now. Every detail matters. Every movement, every glance, every flick of the wrist." Next came makeup. She applied foundation in slow, deliberate strokes, each touch sending a jolt through my nerves. Concealer hid the faint traces of my boyish features. Blush warmed my cheeks unnaturally, mascara lengthened my lashes, and lipstick, soft pink, just as yesterday, gave me lips that looked like they belonged to someone else entirely. "Look in the mirror," she instructed. I did, and my reflection startled me. The boy I had been, the shy, awkward Jamie was fading. Instead, a delicate girl stared back at me, wide-eyed, unsure, trembling. I felt a wave of dizziness, a confusing mix of panic and thrill. My chest tightened. I hated this. I loved this. I hated it. I loved it. Then she moved to clothes. Lingerie first, a silk camisole and delicate lace panties. My face burned hotter than I thought possible. Wear them, she commanded softly. Every layer you put on takes you further from the boy you were and closer to the girl you are becoming. I hesitated, trembling, but obeyed. The fabric brushed against my skin, soft and intimate, making me acutely aware of every nerve ending. I felt exposed, vulnerable, humiliated, and yet there was an undeniable thrill. My mother's presence, calm and controlling, amplified every sensation. Next was the dress. A pastel, flowing piece that hugged my small frame in ways I had never experienced. She adjusted it perfectly, smoothing every wrinkle, guiding me so that I moved with tentative grace. Walk, she instructed. I took a step, then another. My heels clicked against the hardwood floor, each sound echoing through the room like a verdict. I stumbled once, nearly falling, and my mother's eyes softened only slightly. Good, she said. Feel every step, every wobble. That's part of becoming her. Hours passed in this rhythm. Hair, makeup, clothing, walking, posture, voice. My mother coached me relentlessly, correcting every misstep, adjusting every gesture, refining every nuance of my new identity. My legs ached from heels. My cheeks burned from blush. My voice quivered as I practiced speaking softly, melodically, perfectly feminine. At one point, I caught my reflection in the mirror and froze. My eyes, so wide, so expressive, looked different. My lips, my hair, the curve of my body, it all felt like a mask, yet it felt terrifyingly real. I touched my cheeks, my lips, my hair, as if trying to confirm that I was still me. But who was me anymore? Tears blurred my vision. My mother didn't flinch. She knelt beside me, brushing them away. It's okay, she whispered. This is hard. Transformation always is. But you're doing beautifully, Jamie. You're becoming her. I hated the words. I hated her. I hated myself. And yet, beneath the shame and humiliation, beneath the embarrassment and fear, a tiny spark of something else flickered. Curiosity, desire, fascination. Hours later, we practiced speaking and walking, going through every scenario she could imagine. Greeting strangers, laughing, sitting gracefully, holding objects delicately. I stumbled repeatedly, my voice cracking, my movements awkward. But she never let me retreat. Every failure was met with her steady, controlling gaze. By evening, my legs ached, my head spun, and my identity felt frayed at the edges. And yet, I had never felt so seen. Not as Jamie, the invisible boy, but as someone fragile, delicate, undeniably noticed. Tomorrow, my mother said, smoothing my hair one final time, we take the next step. Public attention will increase, and you will feel every eye upon you. Are you ready to face that? I wanted to say no. I wanted to run. But the reflection in the mirror, the soft, trembling girl staring back at me, whispered that a part of me wanted to stay. The morning sun had barely risen when my mother knocked softly on my bedroom door. Jamie, wake up. Today we step outside fully. My stomach twisted into knots. Outside. Public. People. Strangers. I had survived the mall yesterday, but this felt heavier, more permanent. My reflection in the mirror stared back at me, wide-eyed, trembling, lips slightly parted. The soft curls of my hair framed my face, my dress swaying gently with every movement. I don't know if I can do it, I whispered, my voice still high-pitched and feminine from yesterday's lessons. You can, my mother said, her tone firm yet velvety. You will. And when people see you, Jamie, they'll notice. They'll see what I see, what you've never allowed yourself to see. I nodded silently, heart hammering. She guided me to the car. Every step in heels felt like walking on a tightrope. Each click against the pavement echoed in my chest like a drumbeat of judgment. My hands were clammy, my fingers twisting the edges of my dress. The streets were busy, the hum of cars and chatter of pedestrians surrounding us. My mother's hand rested lightly on my back, a tether keeping me from fleeing. We entered a small boutique first, the scent of perfume and polished wood overwhelming. My mother guided me toward a mirror in the center. Stand.
Pose.
Look confident. I tried. My back straightened, my chin lifted, but my knees threatened to buckle. A saleswoman approached with a polite smile. "Good morning, young lady. Can I help you find something special?" The words hit me like ice. "Why, yes," I stammered, my voice cracking despite all the lessons. My mother's eyes flicked to mine.
Control, Jamie.
Own this. I followed her instructions, mimicking grace and poise, the small gestures drilled into me like a mantra. The saleswoman complimented my style, noting how well I carried myself. I felt my face heat, my pulse spiking. People were looking at me, seeing me, and it was terrifying. Then came the first true test. Another customer, a young man with a charming smile, leaned slightly forward. "Excuse me, I just wanted to say you have a really beautiful smile." My chest tightened. Beautiful. Not Jamie.
Not boy.
Her. My mother's hand lightly brushed mine, a silent reminder that I could not retreat. My knees shook, my hands quivered, but I forced a small smile. The attention was intoxicating. A rush of warmth, fear, and something else, pride?
Desire?
I didn't know. Later, we moved to a cafe. My mother insisted I order. Speak clearly. Be polite. But remember, every word you say carries who you are now. I approached the counter, trying to steady my voice. "A cappuccino, please." My words sounded high, delicate, undeniably feminine. The barista gave a small approving smile. My face flamed. I was visible, recognized, evaluated. And yet, I felt a strange thrill. Afterward, my mother led me through a small park, insisting I practice walking naturally, sitting gracefully on benches, and interacting with strangers. Every glance from passers-by made my stomach knot, yet my reflection in the shop windows, my mirrored self, reminded me of the delicate girl I had become. By mid-afternoon, I was exhausted. My legs ached from heels. My face burned from both the sun and attention. But beneath the fatigue, a small part of me had begun to taste the strange allure of being noticed, admired, called beautiful. As we left the park, my mother paused near a fountain. "Jamie," she said, her voice unusually soft, almost intimate, "today you saw yourself through the world's eyes. And the world likes her. People notice her. They want her attention. You felt it, didn't you?" I looked at her, chest tight, eyes wide. I felt it, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "Good," she said, smiling. "Because tomorrow we push further. You'll meet someone new. Someone who will interact with you intimately. Someone who will see what you are becoming, and you won't be able to hide." My heart lurched. Fear, shame, and an odd, thrilling anticipation collided in a chaotic storm inside me. The thought of being truly seen, touched even, as this fragile, delicate girl made my pulse race. I wanted to protest, to flee, but the reflection in the fountain caught my gaze, soft curls, flushed cheeks, wide eyes full of uncertainty. She looked alive.
Real.
And somehow, I wanted to keep her. The morning sun barely reached my bedroom when my mother's voice called again. "Jamie, time to begin." I rose, trembling. Every morning now carried the weight of expectation, the knowledge that today I would be tested further, pushed further into becoming her. The reflection in the mirror caught my eye, soft curls framing a face flushed with nerves, wide eyes that seemed to plead silently for escape, and lips painted in delicate pink. She looked back at me, fragile, beautiful, undeniable. "Sit," my mother instructed, placing a tray of items before me. Delicate lingerie, stockings, heels, and a selection of accessories. The sheer intimacy of these objects made my face burn. The silk camisole and lace panties felt heavier today, loaded with significance, almost ceremonial. You'll wear them, she said softly, because she must be complete. Every layer, every piece, transforms not just your body, but your mind. I hesitated, heat flooding my cheeks.
I
I don't know if I can. You can, she said firmly, kneeling before me, her eyes locking onto mine. And you will. This is not optional, Jamie. But if you embrace it, you may discover strength, beauty, even power you've never known. Her words, both gentle and commanding, carried a strange pull. Slowly, trembling, I dressed, every movement making me acutely aware of my new identity. The stockings clung to my legs, heels altered my balance, and each step across the floor felt like stepping further away from Jamie, the boy I had been. Once dressed, she guided me to the mirror. Look at yourself. Really look. This is her. This is what the world will see. I swallowed hard, staring at the reflection. My chest rose and fell rapidly. My heart raced with humiliation, fear, and a strange thrill. The girl in the mirror was delicate, vulnerable, undeniably pretty. And yet she was me. Somehow, part of me recognized her, even as another part panicked. Now, my mother said, producing a small case of makeup, we refine. Eyes, lips, contour, every detail matters. Her hands were gentle yet precise, applying blush, mascara, eyeliner. She showed me how to hold the brush, how to make small, calculated strokes that enhanced my features. Each touch sent shivers down my spine, every correction a reminder of my inadequacy and my transformation. Your voice, she instructed next. Melodic, soft, refined. Say your name. Jamie, my voice trembled, high-pitched, foreign.
again.
Louder, clearer, gentle, but confident. She is not invisible. Hours passed in this meticulous training. I practiced walking, sitting, smiling, speaking. Each step was corrected, each gesture refined. I stumbled repeatedly, my knees weak from both physical strain and emotional overload. At one point, she instructed me to pose in lingerie, adjusting every strap, smoothing every line. My cheeks burned hotter than I thought possible. I felt exposed, humiliated, yet somehow compelled to obey. Her eyes held me in a mixture of control and encouragement, soft but unyielding. Good, she said, stepping back. You're learning. You're becoming her. Tears stung my eyes. I hated her. I hated this. I hated myself. And yet, I couldn't deny the strange, intoxicating thrill of being noticed, of being fragile and delicate and beautiful. The hours blurred. By evening, my body ached from heels, my face burned from makeup, my mind spun with confusion. And yet, the reflection in the mirror whispered that I had crossed a threshold. Jamie was fading. She was emerging. Finally, my mother stepped closer, her voice low and intimate. Tomorrow, we step further. You will be in public again, but this time, someone will touch you. Someone will interact with her, intimately. Are you ready for that? I wanted to say no. I wanted to flee. My chest tightened, a storm of fear, shame, and thrill churning inside me. But the girl in the mirror, the soft curls, the flushed cheeks, the wide eyes, looked back with curiosity, almost daring me to take the next step. And in that moment, I realized
I might want to.
the morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, gentle and seemingly innocent, yet my chest tightened with an almost unbearable anticipation. Today was different. Today, I would be seen and touched as the girl I had become under my mother's relentless guidance. I rose carefully, my legs still sore from hours of heels and walking practice. My reflection in the mirror greeted me, soft curls framing wide, anxious eyes, pink lips slightly parted in nervous anticipation. Her voice, fragile and high-pitched, whispered as I brushed my hair, "You're hers now, aren't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The question lingered like a shadow over my mind, and the answer, unspoken, terrified me. Jamie, my mother called from downstairs, her voice both gentle and commanding.
Come.
Today, we meet someone new. I followed, every step in heels and exercise in concentration. The silk dress swayed softly with each movement, hugging my small frame, reminding me of every lesson, every correction, every moment of humiliation I had endured and absorbed. My stomach nodded as the front door opened, and the world greeted me immediately with sunlight, noise, and expectation. The car ride was quiet. My mother didn't speak, but her presence pressed down on me in a way that left no room for retreat. My pulse raced uncontrollably. Who would I meet? How would they see me? We arrived at a quiet cafe, tucked into a tree-lined street. A young man was waiting inside, a friend of my mother's, she had explained earlier. He was tall, casually dressed, and smiling in a way that suggested warmth, kindness, and curiosity. "Jamie," my mother said, her eyes locking onto mine. "Remember everything. Posture, voice, poise. She must be complete." I nodded silently, feeling my throat tighten. We entered the cafe, and my mother guided me to the table. The young man stood and extended his hand. "Hi, you must be Jamie," he said, his voice friendly. "It's really nice to meet you." I extended my hand cautiously, almost trembling. "And nice to meet you too," I whispered, my voice high, delicate, fragile. He smiled and gestured for me to sit, but before I could comply, my mother leaned close and whispered, "Remember, she is delicate. Every movement, every glance, convey that." I nodded, my pulse racing. Sitting felt like a public test. Every motion had to be calculated, delicate. I brushed the hair from my face, adjusted my posture, and tried to breathe normally. Then he reached out, not aggressively, not inappropriately, but to lightly brush a strand of hair from my cheek. My body froze. My cheeks flamed. My heart slammed against my ribs. The touch was gentle, simple, but it felt like a storm inside me. My mind screamed, "What are you feeling? This can't." My mother's hand rested lightly on my arm, a tether, a reminder of control. "Good," she whispered. "Feel it. Accept it. You're learning to respond as her." I didn't know how to respond. My mind swirled. Fear, embarrassment, desire, humiliation. Every glance from him, every subtle smile, felt magnified. Every word I spoke, fragile and soft, reminded me of how far I had come from Jamie, the invisible boy. He complimented my hair, my dress, my eyes. I laughed nervously, a high, delicate sound that made my ears burn. The attention was overwhelming, intoxicating, terrifying. And yet, a part of me longed for it. As the conversation continued, he reached for my hand again, slightly firmer this time, guiding me to pass him a menu. My knees nearly buckled. The silk against my skin, the delicate warmth of his hand, my cheeks flamed hotter than I had thought possible. My mother's gaze never left me. Calm, observant, commanding. Every reaction I had, every shiver, every blush, was noted, corrected silently, absorbed into the ongoing lesson. After what felt like an eternity, the interaction ended. The young man excused himself briefly, and my mother whispered softly, almost cruelly, "Do you feel it? How the world reacts to her. How she responds." I nodded silently, trembling. I felt it, I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't expect. Her hand cupped my cheek, brushing away an invisible tear. "It's overwhelming, yes. But that's the point. Every sensation, every emotion molds her. You are becoming her." My body shook, my mind reeled, and somewhere deep inside, a part of me realized that Jamie, the shy, awkward, invisible boy, was fading. Slowly, irreversibly, replaced by someone delicate, fragile, undeniably feminine. The next morning, sunlight spilled through my window with a cruel clarity. Today, I would be out in the world again, fully visible, fully transformed, and fully observed. My reflection caught my eye, soft curls, delicate pink lips, wide, uncertain eyes. She looked back at me, the girl my mother had shaped, the girl the world was about to see. I shivered as I stepped into the silk dress she had chosen. It hugged my small frame perfectly, swaying with each movement. The lace stockings and heels completed the ensemble, their intimate touch making my cheeks burn before I even left the house. My mother's calm gaze held me in place as she adjusted a stray curl and brushed my cheeks with soft fingers. "You are ready," she whispered. "Remember, posture, grace, presence. And remember, they are watching." The car ride was quiet, but tension filled every inch of space. My hands gripped the edge of the seat, knuckles white. My legs ached from heels and walking practice, but the anticipation made every step feel electric. We arrived at a busy city street, the sidewalks filled with pedestrians. My mother guided me along the path, her hand light but controlling on my back. Every pair of eyes that glanced our way sent my heart into overdrive. I felt every stare, every whisper, magnified 1,000 times over. "Walk," my mother instructed, and I obeyed, heels clicking sharply against the pavement. My knees wobbled slightly with each step, but she did not allow me to falter. Each movement, each small gesture, was scrutinized by her watchful gaze. Then came the first comment. A woman passing by paused, giving me a long, appreciative glance. "She's so pretty," she whispered to her companion. My chest tightened.
Pretty.
Not Jamie. Not boy. Her. My face burned with a combination of shame, embarrassment, and an unbidden thrill. I had never been seen like this before. Not by strangers. Not in public. Not in this way. "Good," my mother said softly.
Feel it.
"Let it wash over you." Every glance, every comment shapes her. Shapes you. I forced myself to nod, though internally a storm raged. Shame, fear, excitement, humiliation, all tangled into one confusing mess. My reflection in the shop windows caught my eye repeatedly. Each time, I glimpsed the delicate girl I had become, and part of me recoiled while another part, a small, unexpected part, ached for the attention, the recognition. We stopped at a small boutique where my mother insisted I try on a new outfit. As I stepped inside, the clerk's eyes lit up. "You have such a lovely presence," she said. "Your style, it's very elegant." I froze. My cheeks flamed. My heart raced. Every word, every glance, every compliment felt like both a punishment and a gift. I wanted to flee, to disappear, yet a part of me hungered for this validation. "Stand in front of the mirror," my mother instructed. "Notice how they see you. Not Jamie her." I hesitated, then obeyed. The reflection staring back at me made my knees weak. Soft curls, flushed cheeks, wide eyes, delicate lips, someone entirely feminine. A strange, intoxicating thrill coursed through me. The admiration from strangers, the attention, the subtle longing in their eyes, it was overwhelming, addictive, terrifying. Later, outside, a young man approached. "Excuse me," he said, voice warm and inviting. "I just wanted to say, you look amazing. Really beautiful." My chest tightened, pulse spiking. My mother's hand lightly brushed mine, a tether to reality, a reminder of control. I forced a delicate smile, my voice barely above a whisper. Thank you." Every step after that was an exercise in restraint. Every glance, every compliment, every whispered admiration reinforced her lessons, her dominance, her control. Jamie, the shy, invisible boy, was fading with each moment. The girl staring back at the reflections, delicate, observed, praised, was emerging, stronger and more fragile at the same time. By evening, we returned home. My legs ached, my mind spun with the day's experiences, and my cheeks still burned from attention. I collapsed onto my bed, staring at the ceiling. My mother's words echoed. "Tomorrow, someone will see her in a way that matters more. Not just admiration, desire. And she will not hide. Not anymore." I shivered, both terrified and inexplicably excited. The line between fear and desire blurred, leaving me in a whirlwind of identity crisis. Jamie felt like a memory, fleeting and distant, while her, delicate, feminine, visible, pushed to the forefront. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of flowers and freshly baked bread from the nearby cafe. I had barely slept. My mind churned with what my mother had promised. Today, someone would see her in a more intimate way. The girl I had become, fragile, delicate, undeniably feminine, would face a test that left no room for hiding. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the soft curls of my hair. The silk dress clung to my frame, swaying gently with every movement. Lace stockings and heels completed the ensemble, every layer a reminder of the transformation I had undergone. My reflection stared back at me, wide-eyed, flushed, lips slightly parted. She was real now, tangible, almost living, and I barely recognized myself. My mother's voice broke through my thoughts. Jamie, time. Remember, every gesture, every glance is part of her. And today, she will not hide. The car ride was tense and silent. Every red light, every passing car, felt like a countdown to exposure. My heart raced uncontrollably. My hands gripped the edge of the seat. My legs ached from heels and practice, but adrenaline pushed me onward. We arrived at a small, upscale cafe. My mother guided me inside. A young man was already waiting. A friend of hers, she had explained. Someone trustworthy but observant. He stood when we entered, smiling warmly. Jamie, it's nice to finally meet you, he said. I extended my hand, trembling. And nice to meet you too, I whispered, my voice delicate and fragile. My mother's gaze was steady, commanding. Remember everything. Posture, voice, poise, she must be complete. I nodded silently, knees weak. We sat at a table near the window. The young man's eyes lingered on me with a warmth that made my chest tighten. Every glance felt magnified. Every subtle smile sent a shiver through me. When he reached out to brush a curl from my face, my breath caught. His touch was light, almost innocent, yet it sent shockwaves through my body. My cheeks burned hotter than I had thought possible. Good, my mother whispered, resting her hand lightly on my arm. Feel it. Accept it. This is her. I wanted to recoil, to retreat, to deny the flood of sensations overwhelming me. And yet, part of me, hidden beneath layers of embarrassment and fear, wanted it. Every compliment, every fleeting touch, every warm glance drew me further into this identity. Jamie, the shy, awkward boy, felt like a memory slipping through my fingers. He reached for my hand again, guiding me to pass him a menu. I froze, cheeks burning, pulse racing. The warmth of his touch, the pressure of his fingers against mine, it was intimate, electrifying, terrifying. You're really beautiful, he said softly, eyes locking onto mine. The word struck me like lightning. Beautiful. Not Jamie. Not boy. Her. My lips parted, a small, trembling smile forming. Thank you, I whispered, voice barely audible. My mother's hand remained lightly on my back, grounding me, reminding me that I could not retreat. She watched every reaction, every shiver, every blush, as if measuring my transformation. Hours passed in a blur of delicate interactions. The young man engaged me in conversation, complimented my style, my voice, my gestures. Every word, every glance, every subtle touch reinforced her control and dominance. Jamie's identity was fading. Her was emerging. Stronger, fragile, visible. By late afternoon, we left the cafe. My legs ached from heels, my chest burned from emotion, and my mind reeled. The girl in the mirror, the one my mother had created, had been tested in the most intimate way yet. And I had survived. Thrived, even, in a confusing, frightening way. Back home, my mother smiled, her eyes glinting with a mixture of pride and control. Tomorrow, we push further. Someone else will see her, in public, and you will not hide. Not even a little. I shivered at the thought. Fear, excitement, shame, and desire intertwined, leaving me trembling and breathless. Jamie felt like a shadow, distant and fragile, while her, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, stood fully in the light. The morning air was brisk, carrying the faint scent of flowers and freshly baked bread. I awoke to the sound of my mother's voice, calm, yet commanding. Jamie, today you will go out fully. Public attention will be greater, and you will not hide. I shivered, my stomach twisting in knots. The girl in the mirror stared back at me, soft curls framing wide, anxious eyes, delicate lips slightly parted. The silk dress she had chosen hugged my frame, swaying softly with each movement. Lace stockings and heels completed the ensemble. Every step, every glance, every inch of my exposed body carried the weight of observation and judgment. My mother adjusted a stray curl, her hands lingering lightly on my cheeks. Remember, she is delicate. She is feminine. She must move, speak, and breathe as her. And she must not falter. The car ride was tense. Every passing pedestrian, every honking car felt like a countdown to exposure. My pulse raced uncontrollably. My hands gripped the edge of the seat, knuckles white. Every turn of the wheel, every stoplight, felt like a test. We arrived at a bustling downtown street. My mother guided me along the sidewalk, her hand light but controlling on my back. Every pair of eyes that glanced our way made my chest tighten. Whispers followed us. Comments, soft and indistinct, hung in the air like invisible daggers. "She's so pretty," someone whispered as we passed. My face burned. Every compliment, every glance, every whisper made me feel exposed, humiliated, and strangely exhilarated. Jamie, the shy, awkward boy, felt like a fading memory. The girl in the mirror, the one my mother had shaped, was stepping fully into the world. We stopped at a boutique where my mother insisted I try on a new dress. As I stepped inside, the clerk's eyes widened and she smiled warmly. "You have such a lovely presence," she said. "Your style, it's very elegant." I froze, cheeks burning, pulse spiking. Every word, every glance, every subtle admiration felt overwhelming. I wanted to flee, to hide, but my mother's gaze anchored me. I forced a delicate smile, voice barely above a whisper. Thank you." Outside, the street was crowded. A group of young women passed, whispering and giggling. "Look at her. She's adorable," one said, nudging her friend. I felt my knees weaken. Embarrassment, humiliation, and a strange thrill coiled inside me. My mother's hand lightly brushed my back, a tether grounding me. "Good," she whispered. "Notice their eyes, their admiration, their whispers. She is visible. She is real. She is hers." We continued walking, passing cafes, boutiques, and small parks. Strangers offered compliments, small smiles, lingering glances. Each moment reinforced her lessons, her dominance, her control. Jamie's identity was fading with every word, every touch, every look. Her, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, was emerging. By mid-afternoon, we stopped at a park. My mother insisted I practice walking, sitting, and interacting gracefully. Every stumble, every correction, every glance in the mirror reinforced the transformation. I felt exposed, fragile, and strangely powerful. Later, a young man approached. "Excuse me," he said warmly. "I just wanted to say, you look beautiful. Really stunning." My chest tightened. My cheeks burned hotter than I thought possible. I forced a delicate smile, voice trembling. Thank you," I whispered. My mother's hand rested lightly on my arm, her eyes assessing, measuring, controlling. "Feel it," she whispered. "Let the world see her. Let her respond. She is hers now." By evening, we returned home. My legs ached from heels, my cheeks burned from attention, and my mind reeled. The girl in the mirror, the one my mother had created, had faced public scrutiny, admiration, and subtle teasing. I had survived. Thrived, even in a frightening, exhilarating way. The morning light filtered through my curtains, pale and fragile, yet it carried the weight of anticipation. Today would be another public test, but different. Today, someone from my past might recognize me. Someone who could see the boy I once was. The thought made my stomach twist into tight knots. I stood before the mirror, adjusting the silk dress and lace stockings. Soft curls framed my flushed face, and my heels made every movement deliberate, every step weighted. My reflection, delicate, feminine, vulnerable, looked back at me. Jamie felt distant now, a fading shadow behind her presence. My mother's voice called softly from downstairs. Jamie, remember? Confidence, grace, poise. And if someone recognizes you, handle it as her. Do not falter. I nodded silently, heart hammering. The car ride was a tense silence, each stoplight a countdown. My hands clutched the edge of the seat, legs aching from the heels and hours of practice. Every passerby outside the window made me acutely aware of my transformation. We arrived at a crowded downtown area, a mix of shops, cafes, and small parks. The streets buzzed with life. Every glance felt magnified, every whisper like a small dagger. My mother guided me along the sidewalk, her hand resting lightly on my back, a tether I could not ignore. Walk, she instructed, heels clicking sharply against the pavement. Every step a test of balance, grace, and poise. Every glance from strangers forced me to confront her reflection in shop windows. She was real, alive, undeniably feminine, and undeniably visible. Then it happened. A voice, familiar yet impossible. Jamie, is that you? I froze. My heart skipped a beat. My reflection in the cafe window caught my eye. Delicate curls, flushed cheeks, wide eyes. The girl in the mirror stared back, and yet the voice called out to Jamie, the boy I once was. I turned slowly. A boy from my high school, someone I hadn't seen in years, was looking at me, eyes wide in shock. Recognition. Confusion. Curiosity. I mean, wow, he stammered. You look different. My mother's hand brushed my arm lightly. Remember, she is her now. Respond as her. I forced a delicate smile, my voice trembling but feminine. Hi, it's me, I whispered, barely audible. He blinked, his gaze flicking over every detail, the dress, the curls, the makeup. You're beautiful, he said softly. The word hit me like lightning. Beautiful. Not Jamie.
Not boy.
Her. I felt my chest tighten. Embarrassment, fear, exhilaration, all tangled together. The boy's presence stirred emotions I hadn't anticipated. Nostalgia, longing, and an odd, confusing thrill at being seen in this new, vulnerable, feminine form. My mother observed quietly, her eyes calculating, measuring every reaction. Good, she whispered. Let her respond. Let her emerge. We walked together, the boy asking questions, laughing softly, admiring her presence. Every glance, every subtle touch, his hand lightly brushing mine, made my cheeks burn. My pulse raced uncontrollably. I wanted to retreat, to flee, but part of me wanted to linger, to be admired, to feel seen. Hours passed in a delicate dance of conversation and subtle intimacy. Every compliment, every touch, reinforced her lessons, her control, her dominance. Jamie, the shy boy, felt like a memory, fading further with every passing minute. The girl in the mirror, the one my mother had shaped, was emerging fully. By evening, we returned home. My legs ached from heels, my chest burned from emotion, and my mind reeled. The day had tested me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Recognition, nostalgia, admiration, subtle intimacy. And I had survived, thrived, even, in a whirlwind of fear, shame, and exhilaration. My mother's smile was calm, almost predatory. Tomorrow, we push further. Someone new will interact with her, intimately. And you will not hide, not even a little. I shivered at the thought. Fear, excitement, humiliation, and desire coiled together in a chaotic storm. Jamie felt like a fading shadow, while her, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, stood fully in the light. The morning sun spilled softly across my room, but it did nothing to calm the storm inside me. Today, my mother said, would be another public test, more daring, more intimate, and far more exposing than before. My stomach churned as I glanced at the reflection in the mirror. Soft curls, delicate pink lips, flushed cheeks, and wide, uncertain eyes. She was fully real now, and I barely recognized her as myself. My mother's voice called from downstairs, calm but commanding. "Jamie, today you will be observed, complimented, and tested. Every interaction is part of her lesson. You will not falter." I shivered, feeling both fear and a strange thrill. Jamie, the shy, awkward boy, felt distant. The girl in the mirror, the one my mother had shaped, was stepping fully into the light. I dressed in the silk dress she had chosen, the lace stockings and heels completing the ensemble. Each layer pressed against my body, intimate and binding, making me acutely aware of every movement. My mother adjusted a stray curl, brushing her fingers lightly against my cheek. "Remember, she is delicate, visible, feminine. Every gesture counts." The car ride was tense and silent. Every honk, every passerby, every pedestrian seemed magnified. My pulse raced uncontrollably. My hands gripped the edge of the seat, legs aching from the heels and practice. We arrived at a bustling downtown area. Streets teeming with life, cafes spilling with laughter, shop windows reflecting every glance. My mother guided me along the sidewalk, her hand lightly resting on my back, a tether I could not ignore. "Walk," she instructed, heels clicking sharply against the pavement. Every step a test of poise and grace. Every glance from strangers amplified my humiliation, but also a strange, intoxicating thrill. A group of young women passed, whispering and giggling. "She's adorable," one said, nudging her friend. I felt my knees weaken. The mix of embarrassment, shame, and excitement twisted inside me. My mother's hand lightly brushed my back, grounding me. "Good," she whispered. "Notice the admiration. Let it shape her. Let her respond as she must." We stopped at a small boutique where my mother insisted I try on a new outfit. The clerk's eyes widened as I entered. "You're stunning," she said softly. "Really beautiful." I froze, cheeks burning. My pulse spiked. Every word, every glance, every compliment felt overwhelming. I wanted to flee, to hide, but my mother's gaze anchored me. I forced a delicate smile, voice barely above a whisper. "Pitch, thank you." Outside, a young man approached, confident but gentle. "I couldn't help but notice you. You're really beautiful," he said. His eyes lingered on mine, warm and inviting. I felt my chest tighten, cheeks burning hotter than I imagined possible. His subtle attention, the warmth of his gaze, the faintest touch on my hand, intimate yet innocent, sent shivers through me. My mother's hand rested lightly on my arm, guiding, controlling, reminding me of my place. "Feel it. Accept it. She is hers now," she whispered. Hours passed in a blur of public interaction. Compliments, teasing whispers, gentle touches, they all blurred together into a whirlwind of humiliation, excitement, and submission. Jamie, the shy boy, was fading further with every glance, every word, every heartbeat. The girl in the mirror, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, was emerging fully. By evening, we returned home. My legs ached, my chest burned from emotion, and my mind reeled. The day had tested me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Public teasing, admiration, subtle seduction, and emotional surrender. I had survived. Thrived, even, in a storm of fear, shame, and exhilaration. My mother's smile was calm, predatory, and satisfied. Tomorrow, we push further. Someone new will interact with her, intimately. And you will not hide, not even a little. I shivered at the thought. Fear, excitement, humiliation, and desire coiled together in a chaotic storm. Jamie felt like a shadow, distant and fragile, while her, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, stood fully in the light. The morning sunlight fell softly through my curtains, but it did nothing to ease the tight knot of anxiety in my chest. Today, my mother promised, would be a day unlike any before. Today, my femininity would be tested in its most vulnerable form, exposed not only to strangers, but to scrutiny, desire, and emotional pressure I wasn't sure I could withstand. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. Soft curls framed a flushed, anxious face. Delicate pink lips, wide eyes, and trembling hands stared back at me. She, the girl I had become, was real, alive, and undeniably feminine. Jamie, the boy I once was, seemed like a faint shadow, distant and fragile. My mother's voice broke the silence. Jamie, she is ready. Today, you will face her own reflection and the world. Every glance, every whisper, every touch she will not hide. She will surrender. My stomach twisted, and I shivered. I dressed slowly, methodically. Silk dress, lace stockings, heels. Every inch of clothing pressed intimately against my body, a constant reminder of transformation, exposure, and control. My mother's hands lingered lightly on my cheeks and hair, guiding, correcting, reinforcing. Remember, she whispered, she is delicate. She is hers. She will respond as her, and only her. The car ride was silent, the city outside a blur of motion and noise. Every honk, every passerby, every glance made my pulse spike. My hands gripped the edge of the seat, knuckles white. Every stoplight, every turn, was a countdown to exposure. We arrived at a bustling city square, teeming with people. My mother guided me along the sidewalk, her hand light but controlling on my back. Every pair of eyes that glanced our way made my chest tighten, every whisper and murmur magnified. She's so pretty, someone said as we passed. My face burned. Embarrassment, humiliation, and an intoxicating thrill coiled inside me. I felt exposed, vulnerable, but undeniably alive. Jamie, the boy, seemed to shrink further with each passing moment. We stopped near a small fountain where people gathered to enjoy the sunny afternoon. My mother instructed me to practice walking and standing gracefully, her eyes unyielding. Each step, each movement was observed, corrected, internalized. I stumbled slightly on the heels, and a small wave of panic washed over me. My mother's hand pressed lightly on my back, steadying me. Good, she whispered. Notice their eyes. Notice their admiration. Let her respond. She is hers now. A young man approached, confident and warm. Excuse me, he said. I just wanted to say you're stunning. Truly beautiful. My chest tightened. My legs felt weak. My cheeks burned hotter than I imagined possible. I forced a delicate smile, voice trembling. Thank you, I whispered. He lingered, speaking softly, laughing gently, his attention focused entirely on me. Every glance, every subtle touch, every word magnified my humiliation and desire simultaneously. The thrill of being seen, admired, and touched as her overwhelmed me. I felt tears prick my eyes. Embarrassment, fear, humiliation, and an unbidden longing coiled together in a storm. My mother's hand rested lightly on my arm, grounding me, controlling me, reminding me that I could not retreat. Hours passed in a whirlwind of public exposure and intimate interaction. Compliments, whispers, gentle touches, they all combined into a crescendo of psychological pressure. Jamie, the shy, invisible boy, was fading completely. The girl in the mirror, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, was emerging fully, surrendering entirely to the transformation my mother had engineered. By evening, we returned home. My legs ached, my chest burned, and my mind reeled from the intensity of the day. I collapsed onto my bed, trembling, exhausted, and overwhelmed. The girl in the mirror looked back at me, delicate and vulnerable, yet undeniably alive. My mother's voice, calm and measured, cut through my thoughts. Tomorrow, we push further. You will face admiration, desire, and attention in ways that will leave no room for hiding. She will be hers completely. I shivered. Fear, excitement, humiliation, and desire intertwined in a chaotic storm. Jamie felt like a shadow, distant and fragile, while her, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, stood fully in the light. The morning sun was harsher today, almost unforgiving, as if the world itself demanded I step fully into her. My reflection in the mirror was flawless yet fragile, soft curls, flushed cheeks, wide eyes, delicate lips. She looked real, alive, undeniably feminine. Jamie, the boy I had been, felt like a distant memory, fading further with every heartbeat. My mother's calm, commanding voice called from downstairs. Jamie, today she will be seen by many. Every glance, every whisper, every comment, she will not hide. She will exist fully, completely, as her. I shivered. Dressing in the silk ensemble, lace stockings, and heels was almost ritualistic now. Each movement, each brush of fabric against skin reminded me of the transformation, of the control, of her power. My mother's hands lingered lightly on my cheeks and curls, adjusting, guiding, perfecting. Remember, she whispered. She is hers now. Confidence.
Grace. Poise.
And do not falter. The car ride was tense. Every honk, every passerby, every glance magnified my anxiety. My pulse raced uncontrollably. My hands gripped the edge of the seat. My legs ached from heels and exhaustion. Yet, underneath the fear, a strange thrill simmered, as if the world's gaze was validating the person I had become. We arrived at a bustling downtown square, more crowded than ever. Cafes spilling with laughter, shop windows reflecting countless glances, pedestrians murmuring as we passed. My mother guided me along the sidewalk, her hand light but controlling on my back. Every pair of eyes that lingered sent a shiver of both shame and exhilaration through me. She's so beautiful, someone whispered. My cheeks burned. Every glance, every compliment, every whisper made me feel exposed, vulnerable, yet intoxicatingly alive. Jamie, the shy boy, was a fading shadow. The girl in the mirror, delicate, feminine, visible, was stepping fully into the world. We stopped at a boutique where my mother insisted I try on a new outfit. The clerk's eyes widened at my entrance. You're stunning, she said softly. Your presence that's captivating. I froze, cheeks burning, pulse spiking. Every word, every gaze, every compliment was overwhelming. I wanted to flee, to hide, yet my mother's gaze anchored me. I forced a delicate smile, voice trembling. Thank you. Outside, a young man approached. Excuse me, he said warmly. I just had to tell you, you're beautiful. Really beautiful. My chest tightened. His gaze, warm and lingering, sent shivers through me. The subtle touch of his hand on mine, the gentle tone of his voice, was intimate, electrifying, terrifying. I felt both embarrassed and strangely exhilarated. My mother's hand rested lightly on my arm, guiding, controlling, reminding me that I could not retreat. Feel it, she whispered. Let her exist fully. She is hers now. Hours passed in a whirlwind of public exposure, admiration, and subtle seduction. Compliments, whispers, and gentle touches combined into a crescendo of emotional intensity. Jamie, the shy, awkward boy, had disappeared entirely. The girl in the mirror, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, was fully alive, fully surrendered. By evening, we returned home. My legs ached, my chest burned, and my mind reeled. The day had pushed me beyond fear, beyond shame, beyond the remnants of Jamie. I was fully her now. My mother smiled, a mix of pride and quiet triumph in her eyes. Tomorrow, you will no longer question who you are. She will be hers completely. And the world will recognize it too. I collapsed onto my bed, trembling from exhaustion, exhilaration, and humiliation. The girl in the mirror looked back at me, delicate, fragile, yet undeniably powerful in her femininity. Jamie felt like a distant echo, fading completely into memory. The morning light spilled through the curtains, soft but unwavering. Today was different. I could feel it in my bones, in the way my chest tightened and my pulse raced. The girl in the mirror was no longer just an experiment, a test, or a fleeting illusion. She was real, living. Me, or rather her. Jamie, the boy I had once been, felt like a distant echo, barely audible beneath the rush of femininity that now defined every inch of me. I dressed slowly, deliberately, in the silk ensemble my mother had chosen for me. Every curve, every fold of fabric, every delicate lace detail pressed intimately against my skin. My heels elevated me, not just physically but emotionally, forcing every movement to be precise, graceful, and deliberate. My hair fell in soft curls around my flushed cheeks, lips slightly parted, eyes wide and trembling. My mother's voice, calm yet commanding, echoed through the room. Jamie, today, you will face the world fully. There is no turning back. She is hers now, completely. You will walk, speak, and breathe as her. And the world will recognize it. I shivered, both terrified and exhilarated. The reflection in the mirror looked back at me with unmistakable clarity, delicate, feminine, undeniably alive. I whispered to myself, almost inaudibly.
Who am I now?
Jamie or her? The car ride was silent. The city outside blurred into a stream of color and sound. Every honk, every pedestrian, every glance heightened my awareness, yet a strange thrill coursed through me. This was no longer practice. This was life. We arrived at a large, bustling shopping district. My mother guided me along the crowded streets, her hand lightly resting on my back, a tether I could not ignore. Every pair of eyes that lingered, every whisper, every compliment reinforced what I had become. She's stunning, someone murmured as we passed. She looks so real, another whispered. My cheeks burned, my chest tightened. Embarrassment, pride, thrill, and fear intertwined into a chaotic storm. Jamie's presence, the shy, awkward boy, felt completely gone. She, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, was here, tangible, undeniable, and fully alive. We stopped at a cafe. The barista's eyes widened as I entered. You're beautiful, she said softly. I forced a delicate smile, voice trembling but feminine. Thank you, I whispered. Outside, a young man approached, confident yet gentle. I have to say, you're incredibly beautiful, he said. His gaze lingered warmly on mine, and I felt a rush of unfamiliar excitement. His subtle touch, the warmth in his eyes, sent shivers down my spine. My mother's hand rested lightly on my arm, guiding, controlling, reminding me of my transformation. Feel it, she whispered. Let her exist fully. She is hers now. Hours passed in a blur of admiration, whispers, subtle touches, and public recognition. Jamie was no more. The girl in the mirror, the delicate, feminine, observed girl, had emerged fully. She walked with confidence, spoke with poise, and felt the thrilling, terrifying weight of complete exposure. By evening, we returned home. My legs ached, my chest burned, my mind reeled from the intensity of the day. I collapsed onto my bed, trembling from exhaustion, exhilaration, and humiliation. My mother's voice, calm and satisfied, broke the silence. You have done well. You are hers completely. Jamie is gone, and the world will see her as she is. Tears pricked my eyes. Fear, shame, excitement, pride, and longing intertwined in a tumultuous storm. I touched my face, my hair, my dress, tracing every curve and contour. The girl in the mirror looked back at me, delicate yet powerful, fragile yet undeniably alive. I whispered to the reflection, a soft, trembling confession. I am her. I accept her. I am hers completely. For the first time, there was no hesitation, no fear, no lingering doubt. Jamie's shadow had dissolved entirely, leaving only her, the delicate, feminine, fully realized identity my mother had forged. And though the world outside might never see the boy I once was, I had surrendered fully to the girl I had become. Weeks later, I walked down the streets with confidence, admired, recognized, and fully accepted. Every glance, every whisper, every compliment was no longer overwhelming. It was natural. I had become her completely. Jamie was a memory, fading, distant, but her, the girl in the mirror, was alive, thriving, and irrevocably real.